Hi, it's me, Cooler Jeremy. A couple months ago, I got a message on Blue Sky from somebody saying, hey, I have a Korg Z1 and it's not selling on Reverb, and I would like to know if you would like to buy it because I want to buy what I assume is like a second Fizmo. They already have one Fizmo. How many Fizmos does one person need? 3, I guess, at least. Anyways, they were like, here, I'll sell this to you for a really good price if you want it. I was like, look, I have a Roland V synth over here that I have not touched in a year. I personally can't in good faith take on another super, super cool vintage digital synth in my studio until I have given the V synth the run of its money. A run for its money? Run money? I said, how about this? You send the synth to me, I'll do a video on it and hopefully drive interest in it, and then hopefully someone will buy it and I'll ship it out from where I live to whoever buys it. So here we are. I have a Korg Z1 in my studio and I have been recording with it over the past couple days, and I'm going to tell you about it. This synth is wild. Korg was really cooking when they came out with the Z1, and it's one of those things where once you learn about it, you're like, wow, this kind of stuff we don't really see anymore. Like this level of pushing innovation in a piece of kit like this. So here's a video on the Korg Z1, one of Korg's most ambitious and interesting digital synthesizers that, in my opinion, they've ever made. Let's get started.
Hi, it's me, Editing Jeremy. So, the thing about this video, at the end, instead of just ending the video, I decided to put about 20 minutes of pure Z1 sound. So all the demos I recorded, they'll be at the end of the video. Check the timestamp if you want to check that out. I also got something wrong. I will point it out in the video, but don't worry. Let's get back to it. I'll see you in a second. Okay. Video.
Oh, and real quick, all the music that you hear in here was all from the Z1. So any sounds that you hear are coming directly from the Z1. So, what is the Korg Z1? Well, first off, it's big. Look at this thing. It's a chunky friend. It lives in the same chassis that the Korg Triton lived in, which is a 61 key chassis with After Effects. After Effects? What is wrong with me? Aftertouch, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Actually, I'm jumping ahead. Let's start at the beginning. So, the Korg Z1, it was manufactured from 1997 to 1999. Its MSRP at that time was $2,395. So first of all, that's a lot of money. If you saw a synth that came out today for $2,395, you'd be like, why? But here's the thing you gotta remember, that's in 1997 money. In 2025 money, before tariffs, that's $4,782. Before tariffs, $4,782. Think about how many synthesizers today cost that much when they come out, and think about how much of a conniption Reddit would have if Korg put out any kind of synthesizer that cost that much. They would poop their diapers. All right, so it has 12 voices of polyphony, standard, meaning you can play up to 12 notes at once. And then it's 6-part multi-timbral, which means it can play 6 separate parts over like 6 separate MIDI channels, or you can layer 6 individual patches on top of each other. And that is before you put in one of the expansion cards that was available for it, which the version that I have in the studio has. So that increases the polyphony from 12 voices to 18 voices. Still get 6 parts multi-timbral, which is pretty damn cool.
Stop! Here's what I got wrong. This thing, this is the storage card, the patch storage card. This is not the polyphony card. This is the polyphony board. See the difference? One looks like this, one looks like this. We left the joke in because the sexy sound is kind of funny. But yeah, this is the patch storage card, and this is the polyphony board.
Here's where things get interesting with it. It's not just a virtual analog synthesizer. It does physical modeling, analog modeling, and a version of FM that Korg called variable phase modeling. There's actually a whole bunch of really, really interesting dedicated synth engines inside this thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. This was officially the world's first multi-timbral physical modeling synthesizer. And honestly, even being a polyphonic physical modeling synthesizer was pretty fancy. This thing was based on the Korg Prophecy engine, which was a monophonic synth. And there weren't even a ton of modeling synths before this came out, and that goes for analog modeling as well. There were only a couple physical modeling synths, including the Yamaha VL1 and, like I said, the Korg Prophecy before that. The Clavia Nord Lead was introduced 2 years before the Korg Z1, and that's one of the first analog modeling synthesizers. So Korg was already pretty far into the game when they were cooking with, that's a bad series of metaphors. Korg was already cooking when they were into the game changing of the changing of the game with the cooking, and they ate. My point here is that Korg was pretty ahead of the game with what they were doing in the Z1. All right, so what are the specs? It's got 4 LFOs, it's got 2 modeling oscillators, it's got 1 sub-oscillator, 1 noise generator, a multi-mode filter, including dual bandpass filters, which is really, really good for physical modeling stuff. Aftertouch, polyphonic arpeggiator, which is really, really cool. As a quick aside, I used to be super, super obsessed with the Korg Karma, mostly because I thought that the arpeggiator in it was like super unique and like, oh wow, I really need to try this. Using the Korg Z1's arpeggiator has kind of like fixed that for me. I now understand what the Korg Karma's arpeggiator was probably like, and it's damn cool. All right, what else? 2 effects units with 15 effects each, 3 master effects, and a master EQ. There are 2 assignable wheels, 4 switch controls, and an XY ribbon controller, which can be momentary or latching.
You like that? You like it when I do it like that?
Here's where things get interesting. The Korg Z1 uses a technology called MOSS, or MOS, which in 1995 was introduced with the Korg Prophecy. This stood for Multi-Oscillator Synthesizer System and offered both physical and analog modeling synthesis. So the Z1 expanded on this, offering not only expanded models, but obviously the polyphony that we talked about earlier. This tech was eventually spun off as an expansion board, which allowed consumers to incorporate the Z1 MOS engine into Korg workstations such as the Triton and the Trinity. Korg had been working on a much grander project since the mid-90s that the Z1 pulled its tech from, and that was the Open Architecture Synthesis System, or Oasys. They really did love their acronyms. Korg wanted to develop a synthesizer platform that would integrate multiple synthesis engines and advanced digital features with a flexible, software-driven architecture. They developed a prototype and showed it off at trade shows, but they didn't release Oasys itself as a commercial product until 2005 with the Oasys Workstation Synth, which was essentially a Pentium 4 computer running a custom Linux distro. That system went for an eye-watering $8,000 to $8,500 in 2005 money, which, are you ready for this? Would have been around $13,000 today, before tariffs. Have I mentioned tariffs yet? $13,000. This whole project has really put synthesizer prices into perspective for me. It's insane how much some of this stuff was going for. It's also wild to think about how much cheaper this could be made now, as long as there weren't tariffs. And how Korg could probably make bank re-releasing something like the Z1 in desktop format. Also, while we're at it, hey, Roland, why the fuck did you stop making the DO5? It was one of the best things you've ever come up with, and it's impossible to get now. Roland, I'm talking to you, Roland.
Wait, Echo. Don't I have something for this? Is it back here? Oh yeah, I have a D50. Damn you, Roland V-Synth! Strike again.
The MOS engine was actually pretty slick and offered 13 different synthesis algorithms, which I will now tell you about. But please understand that I'm only going to describe 11, because while Wikipedia says 13, I could only find definitive information on 11. Okay? You got your standard oscillator. It's an analog modeling oscillator. Saw, square, triangle, sine. It emulates classic analog waveforms such as sawtooth, triangle, and sine. And hey, it includes pulse width modulation for those freaks out there that like that. Next up, we got comb filter. Resonant string-like timbres from a noise impulse. It extracts pitch components from noise or impulses. This is useful for creating strings and other resonant timbres. Next up, we got Korg's take on FM, which is VPM, FM-style phase modulation synthesis. It generates harmonically rich and metallic sounds by modulating the phase of a carrier with a modulator. You know what FM is. Come on, you're a smart cookie. You're so handsome, too. Your fur looks great today. Do you have a new shampoo? Oh no, you're just getting licked a lot? That's based. Keep that up. Next up, we have ring modulation, which multiplies 2 signals to create complex bell-like or metallic tones. After that, cross modulation. It's another form of modulation between oscillators that produces harmonically rich and sometimes harsh or metallic sounds. Next up, we have oscillator sync.
Hello, Oscillator Sync here.
Hi, oscillator sync. So this synchronizes one oscillator to another. It's a classic analog technique for creating aggressive, harmonically complex sounds. Kind of like this metallic sort of jet sound. It's really, really cool. Next up is a resonant oscillator. So this is pitch tones via filter resonance, and you self-oscillate a filter and then pitch it around with a pitch signal. This is really great for metallic and percussive sounds. Then we have the physical modeling engines. We have one dedicated for brass. One dedicated for reed. We have a plucked string model. And finally, a noise generator, which is going to create white noise for effects and percussion, but also it can be used in conjunction with the physical modeling engines to get that breathiness, that... Nine of these were offered in the Korg Prophecy, and the Z1 introduced 4 new ones. From there, the sound went through 2 multi-mode filters like low pass, high pass, band reject, and dual band pass. Band pass filters are actually really important when it comes to physical modeling sounds, and having a dual band pass mode was kind of sick. The amp section has a 5-stage envelope and allows the output of the amp section to be rerouted into the signal chain for distortion effects. There are 4 modulation envelopes you can use to use the modulation envelopes to modulate the sound, and 4 LFOs. That's just one shy of the AMS Hydrasynth, which is one of the most modulatingable synths I've ever used. The LFOs were all capable of producing 17 distinct waveforms, which is quite frankly a lot, and they're really, really obsessed with letting you know that it can do sample and hold waveforms. A ton of the literature around the synth says that, and a ton of the patches use sample and hold waveforms. Oh, and you could stick a card in the back of the Z1 and get 18 voices of polyphony, and I'm pretty sure if we look back here, we're gonna see, oh, what's that? Oh, hi card. But that's not all. Like, not even close. When asking the current owner about this synth's memory, they showed me the custom board they actually installed inside the synth as well. This gives the Z1 16 memory locations on the cards, each with its own set of 256 patches spread over an A and B bank. It's already full of cool stuff, but you have a ton of room for installing other banks.
Stop. That's wrong. That is the polyphony board. This is the patch storage board. Whew. We really messed that up. So sorry. Anyways. Okay. All right. Back to the video.
In our current climate of specification fixation, the Korg Z1 is kind of bonkers. It was incredibly stacked in terms of features, including physical modeling and multitemporality. Its effects are multitemporal too, meaning each of up to the 6 parts can have its own set of effects, which as far as I know really wasn't standard back then, considering analog modeling had just been invented. I think the Z1 could be considered a hidden gem and ahead of its time, and overshadowed by the Trinity and the Triton workstations that were so ubiquitous in those years. There's very few synths offering physical modeling at all, let alone with polyphony and multitemporality, and a neat function of its capabilities is that it's very suited to working with electronic wind instruments as its tone generator. There have been specific patch banks designed for it to take advantage of its strengths in this area, which is cool. All in all, I really enjoyed my time with the Z1, and I hope we can send it to a good home. Check the link in the video description to where you can get this exact Z1, and if you have any cool Z1 facts or favorite patch banks for the Z1, leave them in the comments. That's all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. This is Red Beans Recording, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Wait. Okay, that's not the end of the video, but thank you for watching. That's the end of that part of the video. Here's a bunch of demos of the Z1. I hope you enjoy. Check the link in the description to buy this Z1 if you want. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the Z1. Bye.